Hello, and thank you for standing by, and welcome to the second session of the World Series on Data Virtualization titled High Value Uses for Data Virtualization, Analytical, Operational, and Data Management Applications. My name is Kim Lukin, and I will be the moderator for the World Series on Data Virtualization and continue to travel with you on this journey. Please note that the webinar is being recorded and will be made available on demand viewing. Also, we will not have a Q&A at the end of the webinar, but please submit any questions to dvworldseries@denodo.com or using the Q&A pane during the webinar. Questions to personally be answered after the event. Now I'd like to welcome Suresh Chandrasekaran, Senior Vice President, Denodo Technologies, who's going to share some points with you.
Thank you, Kim. To our global audience gathered today, I welcome you back to the World Series on Data Virtualization. I am Suresh Chandrasekaran, Senior Vice President for Denodo Technologies. If this is your first webinar in the series, thank you for joining. You'll have a wonderful journey through the next 13 weeks, listening to the best experts in the world talk about the challenges, solutions, and best practices for data virtualization. If you already attended our first conference last week with Dr. Barry Devlin, thank you for joining us again. Today's session is a very important one. It talks about real deployments for the application of data virtualization in the enterprise. Denodo Technologies is premiering 2 new white papers with detailed descriptions on informational, operational, and data management use cases for data virtualization. I find this categorization of data virtualization applications personally very useful to navigate the wide spectrum of enterprise problems that data virtualization is addressing today. It also will help you better understand the benefits of data virtualization versus other more conventional and perhaps outdated technologies. I'd like to introduce to you the author of these 2 white papers, independent analyst Mike Ferguson, Managing Director of Intelligent Business Strategies. Mike is joining us today from the United Kingdom, and he will be our featured guest and speaker in this session. Mike will walk you through the 3 categories of use cases: analytical, operational, and data management applications for data virtualization, with excellent examples from different industries. At the end of his session, I will come back again and share with you where you can download these 2 new white papers, which I believe are a must-read for everyone in this space, even considering data virtualization or any other agile method of data integration. I will also share with you the perspectives from Denodo on what it requires to implement these use cases using a best-of-breed data virtualization platform. With that, I'd like to turn over the session to Mike Ferguson, guest speaker and author of these white papers, High-Value Uses for Data Virtualization, Analytical, Operational, and Data Management Applications.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to join us today. My name is Mike Ferguson. I'm an independent analyst specializing in BI and data management. My details on the screen there if you want to get hold of me after the event, or to tweet. That's my Twitter handle if you want to tweet as we go along today. So I've come to talk to you really about data virtualization and the use of it, and how I see that opening up. And also the publishing of 2 new white papers which will appear today, which I think Suresh will let you know where those are located after my session. So the topics today I want to start off with are just looking at data complexity and what I'm seeing there, how that's becoming an increasing trend. And then I want to contrast that with some details around how people are looking towards simplification and ways in which you can simplify business processes. Then I'm going to look at how data virtualization is a key technology to help simplify access to information, and then look at different kinds of categories of use cases before handing over to Suresh. So I want to start off then by looking at data complexity. Complexity of data is caused by duplication of it and the holding and storing of it in different functional applications around the enterprise. In some cases, there can be multiple enterprise applications, multiple instances of the same enterprise application across the organization. For example, if you operate in different countries, or even just different divisions of the same company, you could have multiple duplicate copies, and the way in which information flows is often very sporadic. It's different techniques and all kinds of different spaghetti. Sometimes I refer to it as FTP mania. But nevertheless, we often have situations where we have multiple copies of data. Processes are not integrated. In some cases, they're duplicate. We've got duplicate application functionality, and a lot of point-to-point spaghetti between applications, which has resulted in significant complexity around data and accessing it. The same is true in master data. This example, just from a retail banking example, if customer master data, subsets of it could be scattered across multiple different underlying systems. And it turns out that it may be that those are overlapping subsets. In some cases, people not sure exactly what the overlaps are, but it's often the case that there's different identifiers for the same data, like customer or product. There's different definitions for that data, subsets of it, as I mentioned, inconsistencies across it, which can result in conflicts and synchronization problems. And so not only do we have fracturing of data across application silos, we've got fracturing of master data. And if you look at the trend in data warehousing and business intelligence, we're now into the world of appliances. As you can see on the screen here, several different kinds of appliances now appearing to support the different kinds of analytical workloads, often within the enterprise. And it's quite common now to see some of my clients with multiple appliances running in their enterprise, looking after different kinds of analytical workloads. Unstructured content is even more fractured. I think on average probably at least 3 or 4 content management systems within large enterprises today. And so the ability to find information is not always easy. It's scattered across file systems, email servers. There's stuff on the web that people have to access. There's stuff in content management systems and even social networking software. And then exacerbated again by the fact that the complexity is now shifted to outside the firewall, where we now have today some parts of the business or even some entire businesses reliant on software that doesn't reside inside the firewall. A good example might be Salesforce.com, for example, which is out as a software as a service, increasingly getting potentially worse as for specific kinds of workloads are being implemented throughout the enterprise. And I think now that we're in a tough economic climate, we're seeing more tactical spend in lines of business, where we're seeing line of business systems with their own data stores as well. Now, if you contrast that complexity with a very large CIO survey done this year, published by IBM, over 3,000 CIOs surveyed in 71 countries and 18 industries. It's a very sizable survey. 98% of the CIOs who were focused on cross-enterprise growth said that simplification of business processes was key. 98%, that's pretty conclusive. And 95% wanted to drive better real-time decisions. Now, doing that amidst a data landscape that's increasingly becoming complex is a very challenging problem. And there are multiple ways in which you can simplify. You can simplify to improve efficiency, and you can simplify to improve effectiveness. The former is done in a number of ways. I can integrate user interfaces to make things easier to use. I can integrate business processes to try and get rid of redundancy and speed up process execution. I can integrate applications to make data flow easier between those applications as business processes execute. And I can integrate data to make it easier for on-demand access to the information that we need. Looking at the effectiveness side of the things, again, integrating intelligence into processes helps, and integrating data helps to make better decisions. So in both of those categories, if you like, of simplification, simplification to improve efficiency and simplification to improve effectiveness, you'll notice that data integration is in both. And there's no doubt that data virtualization is a technology that helps simplify. It gives us the ability to provide access to multiple different underlying data sources inside and outside the enterprise now that we have the capability and technologies to access cloud-based data stores and services. And we can effectively create the idea that we have a view of data even though it's not physically stored, so it's virtualized data. And we can build multiple views on top of each other to present simplified and restricted access to subsets of data that could be scattered across multiple data sources. If you wanted to be a little bit more intriguing depth to this, to have a look at what's under the covers, what you would probably find is actually there's detailed mappings underneath that map these virtual views to underlying data sources. And on top of that, there will be stored data services available that can be invoked on demand from applications or in a service-oriented architecture, and also the ability to support dynamic query from things like business intelligence tools to go directly at these virtual views of data. And of course, modern data virtualization technology these days supports the capability to cache data that's popular, and also to push down work to the underlying data sources in order to get most of the work done there, in order to limit the amount of data coming out of those data sources. So it's a simplification mechanism, and data virtualization is being used for obvious reasons. We've seen already that data is certainly not always consolidated in one place. We need the ability to get at, in many cases, real-time data, which could be sitting in live operational systems, not integrated into any kind of business intelligence system, and therefore we need to get operational dashboards and operational reports available. We may need to put together more compliance reports if we're burdened with compliance. I'm just in the middle of dealing with a client at the moment that has a Solvency II requirement. They're an insurance company here in Europe. And so they have a burden of producing reports for that. In addition to that, we may need to provide data that's in multiple systems. We need to provide it in an integrated form into multiple operational applications and processes. In addition to that, also make it available for analysis and reporting in a more analytical environment, and also to handle data management. So what you see here is a kind of flexibility offered by data virtualization technologies. We can deploy it to do a number of things. We can use it to extend the data warehouse to allow access to historical and operational real-time data, make it look like it's one system. We can create virtual operational data stores, saving us the need to create more storage and produce reporting for that. We can use it to integrate multiple BI systems, and we've already talked today about the fact that there's an increasing trend of multiple BI systems appearing, particularly around data warehouse appliances. And we can even go to the extent of searching for data across multiple connected data sources. These are just some of the examples of the patterns that would be potentially supported with data virtualization. So broadly speaking, I break data virtualization usage into three general categories. I break it into analytical or informational use of virtual data, operational transactional use of virtual data services, and then using data virtualization for data management. I want to talk about each of these. The first one is analytical or informational use of data virtualization, which can be used to bring integrated data together for reporting and dashboards and scorecards, It's also used to, if you like, create a holistic view of a business activity combining historical and operational data. Perhaps a sales organization wants up-to-the-minute information as well as a history of a client that they would need to gain access to. And of course, increasingly in the analytical world and informational world, we've got a broader and broader set of data sources that we can potentially connect to, everything from popular relational databases, files, some packaged applications, remote web services, even Office documents like spreadsheets, and now we're moving out into the cloud as well. And you'll see in the papers that Suresh will give you details of after me, that I talk about these in the white papers. One of the white papers is dedicated to analytical and informational use of data services, giving some examples, use cases that have been effective in the marketplace. The one shown on the screen there around insurance risk management. So I'd encourage you to go read about those once Suresh gives you the details. And here, again, looking at this problem, I'm sure you've noticed right now, big data is hyped all over the place on the internet today. Huge amounts of discussion going on about it, and NoSQL is also. Well, as we move into these different kinds of data stores and technologies to be able to analyze the data, it's natural that we still have to be able to get at it easily. So if we are moving towards multiple types of analytical system to deal with different kinds of analytical workloads, there's no question in my mind that we are at the point of seeing data virtualization almost becoming a mandatory tool in the toolbox in order to keep it simple to access data. We can't afford to make it more complex. Second category is operational and transactional use of data virtualization. And here again, that's to do with primarily real-time, consuming integrated real-time information, which could be from operational systems to create a virtual operational data store. That would clearly be to handle operational running of the organization on a day-to-day basis. We could also use it to shield the impact of any kind of modernization of applications or mergers. And again, I'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment. But we could use it there in order to make it smooth to merge applications together without causing a massive impact on business ability to access the information being merged. And we could also provide transactional virtual data services, which would allow some kinds of subsets of operational data to be potentially updated and maintained, even though that data may reside in one or more heterogeneous systems, which of course requires the support for something called heterogeneous distributed transaction processing. But these days, data virtualization technology products on the marketplace do support that capability and would certainly allow some transactional use to take place. Once again, if you refer to the white papers that I'm released today, we will see discussion about operational use of data virtualization in order to keep things like logistics and supply chains running smoothly. And the last category is using data virtualization for data management. And a whole range of different uses there, potentially trying to get views of master data to make it easy to understand your customer data or your product data or asset data, or whatever kind of master data you're looking at, virtual ODS, which saves me creating multiple databases. Virtual data marts, again, kind of gives you the ability to put sandboxes on top of detailed data so that you don't have to copy it again and have multiple versions of large data volumes floating around the industry, the enterprise. So that kind of gives you the ability to kind of put together a sandbox and tear it down, put up another one, tear that down. And of course, again, the use of virtual data sources in order to make it easier for ETL tools to extract data from source systems or from multiple source systems. So there's a whole range of things that can be for data management we can use data virtualization for. And once again, that's the third category that I cover in the white papers and show some practical use cases of how that can be deployed. So to wrap up then, the way I see it today, there's no question that the increasing amount of distribution, if you like, of data across multiple different underlying systems is resulting in data virtualization becoming almost a must-have technology. The reason being is very straightforward. It simplifies access to data that business is demanding, as we saw from the CIO survey that I mentioned. That means if we can get at the information we need quicker, it shortens the time to value. And it also means that if we don't have to create more databases, it simplifies our architecture too. It makes it total cost of ownership lower. It also gives us the ability to hide, if you like, complexity by introducing common data definitions into virtual views so that people don't have to struggle with multiple underlying data names and different definitions across underlying systems and can only just see common ones, which helps improve people's understanding, and therefore as a result of that they get more confident in using the information that they need. One of the other things I like about this technology is the fact that it gives you agility. It allows you to easily accommodate change, to make changes to virtual views, to throw up another one if the data is not included in the ones that you've already, the virtual views you've already created. It allows me to make use of this kind of software for analytical and operational and data management uses as we've mentioned. And clearly, you know, adding it to your toolbox of technologies to be able to support the managing of data around the enterprise and beyond is, without a shadow of doubt, complementary to anything else that's in your toolbox that helps you do that too. And certainly, from my perspective, is particularly well suited for organizations who are trying to get hold of real-time operational data from multiple systems to help them manage their business operations. It's particularly well suited to quickly respond to new regulatory requirements and to integrate information from multiple BI systems, which we've seen are starting to fracture into multiple appliances and different kinds of analytical data stores. And of course, to combine that with operational system data as well. So I hope that gives you a broad picture of why I think data virtualization technology is exciting over the next few years. And at this point, I'd like to pass over to Suresh.
Thank you, Mike. That was excellent, and I hope our audience got as much out of it as I did. And I'm sure they're all waiting right now to download these white papers, so let me get straight to the point of where they can find these two excellent white papers that we are premiering right here, right now. High-value uses of data virtualization. You can get it from Denodo's website, and the URL is given at the bottom, go.denodo.com/data-virtualization_use_cases. I'd like to briefly highlight what you're likely to find in these white papers. First of all, they're very comprehensive and well-written. As you look through the agenda, on the first paper, you will find that there is a brief introduction to data virtualization, but the main focus of these papers is to explain the different categories of use cases and illustrate them with real-world examples drawn from various different industries. So you will find a description of what does it mean to be an analytical or informational use, operational use, or data management use. And in the first paper, Mike has focused on analytical and informational virtual data services and use cases. The first such example is in the area of food service, which is a very fast-moving industry where business intelligence about retailers, their demand situation, the goods in transit, as well as the manufacturer's inventories are critical to avoid wastage. And Mike explains very clearly through diagrams and the text how virtualization helps bring together information from all these systems, not only in a single retailer scenario, but also in a multiple retailer scenario, and how that helps not only optimize the supply chain in the sales going forward, but also reduces wastage and improves optimization of manufacturing. The second use case goes to the high-paced world of e-business sales in an advertising environment. Here, virtual inventories of advertising space command different prices depending on the availability of space and demand. And both salespeople who are distributed all through the country as well as sales management really need to have a real-time view of customers' demand and also their financial systems as to who has actually been paying higher prices, etc. So this particular case study goes not only into the use case, but also distributed systems in the cloud, in the enterprise, and in the web, and how they are brought together by data virtualization in a complementary fashion to data warehousing to provide the right informational applications for e-business sales. My personal favorite in this paper is the third use case around insurance, because it has a depth and breadth that you will find it hard to see in other white papers of this ilk. Mike has gone into the details of explaining how risk management in insurance and rating of different types of property, motor, and other risk can be fed in real-time to real-time dashboards for the underwriters of risk and the risk managers. So they're seeing the complete picture, the 360-degree view of all aspects and information from catastrophe modeling systems to past experiences in data warehouse to other input services, and how they take that into account in pricing risk correctly in the insurance market. Not only that, Mike moves on to talk about the reinsurance market, which is very critical if you have to be a first mover to take advantage of the best reinsurance rates available in the market, and pulling together all the information to reinsure your property risks is critical, and the use of data virtualization to accomplish that is illustrated here very clearly. And Mike goes on to talk about other possibilities for analytical and informational use of data virtualization with several other examples. These are shorter, but they give you a clear idea of what you can expect in this white paper. Part 2 of the series, Succeeding with Data Virtualization, High-Value Use Cases, focuses on operational and data management uses of virtual data services. This series is no less ambitious, or this paper. It again goes in to talk about and recaps what does it mean, operational virtual data services, and also touches on some aspects of transactional use and data management uses such as virtual data marts, master data management, etc. The first two examples are around operational use. The first one is around newspapers and magazine distribution and understanding all of the resources, planning, and optimization that needs to occur in order to optimize a very fast-moving supply chain in the distribution of newspapers and magazines using a virtual operational data store. The second example in this series is around facilities management. You could consider that a subset of managed services industry, where the client is managing the energy, the utilities, the waste management systems, the security, site management, etc., of various buildings and facilities, factories, hospitals, etc., and require real-time operational dashboards and interactions for planning visits to the site and customer interactions, and a series of virtual views around the health of the building, the health of the asset, the energy utilization, the security incidents, and field service are brought together to smooth the operations using data virtualization. The last example in this series focuses on data management uses in the retail banking environment. In this case, it talks about how to create customer data management services that aggregate information virtually from various underlying systems to create a single view of the customer for the call center operators, for the customer portal, as well as for business intelligence services, and also touches on the impact of data virtualization in extending ETL and registry-style master data management. So with that, Mike then again goes back into additional use cases. Again, as I mentioned before, this is a treasure trove of high-value uses for data virtualization, which is a must-not read for everyone considering this space. As you can see, there are examples here in financial services, financial asset management, telecommunications, and various different types of virtual data management services included in this white paper. The concluding paragraphs of the second white paper, Mike refers to the use of data virtualization across the enterprise and how to start with specific projects but eventually move to an enterprise capability for Agile data integration. Once again, I'd like to emphasize that these two white papers on the high-value uses of data virtualization are essential in every information architect, business manager, and business intelligence specialist's toolkit to help you navigate the best use cases for data virtualization. You can get it right now by going to go.denodo.com/data virtualization _use_cases, and we encourage you to read it end to end because it's packed with information that will help you. In this context, I'd like to conclude with a few important thoughts. Denodo has tremendous experience with several customers and prospects and leaders in this space implementing data virtualization. We have also talked to more than 300 enterprise architects worldwide as part of a survey understanding their perceptions of data virtualization, their implementation plans, and how they see this technology and approach adding value to their enterprise. If there's one thing we have learned from all this, and is that it is very important to start small, but at the same time, think about a broad vision. So as you read Mike Ferguson's paper on all of the different use cases, you might choose to start in one of those three categories in one particular application. But at the same time, it's important to keep in mind that there is a broader vision that data virtualization fulfills. And that's the idea of a unified virtual data layer that not only provides you an alternative way to integrate on demand and virtually, but provides a way to access all information universally, including secondary data stores that are part of the replication consolidation strategy or your SOA data propagation strategy. Merge them into a unified virtual data layer and expose them in various formats as data services that can serve not only the informational applications, but also your operational, transactional, and data management applications in an interactive fashion. This is really what everyone is seeking, and provide high performance depending on the application and unified entry point for data governance. So we encourage you to read the use cases, start small, expand, move to an idea of a unified data services layer, and if you need any help in understanding the use cases or the technologies required to implement that, we're always here to help you. And so with that, I premiere the two new white papers by Mike Ferguson, High-Value Uses for Data Virtualization, and hope you get value from it. Thank you very much, and I'll turn this back over to our moderator, Kim Lukens.
Thank you, Suresh. And to the audience, I encourage you to send any questions to dvworldseries@denodo.com. All of the questions will be reviewed and provided personalized responses. We will also be providing via email a link to the recording that will be available for on-demand viewing. We encourage you to attend the entire World Series on data virtualization. Our next sessions are October 19th, Agile, Telecommunications, Information, and Strategies. Following that, on October 26th, we have Turning Data into Information, a Visionary Strategy for Information Management in Financial Services. We have reached the end of the webinar for today. I'd like to thank our speakers again, and I'd like to thank all of you for your participation. Signing off until next week, your host, Kim Lukens.
The World Series on Data Virtualization is brought to you by Denodo Technologies, the leader in data virtualization, delivering unmatched flexibility, performance, and ROI.